What were men and women not to do concerning their clothing under the law of Moses? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Deuteronomy on walking through the Bible.
The glory of his cross.
If you have a Bible with you, turn to Deuteronomy chapter 22. We're going to be reading from verses 1 to 12. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So Deuteronomy 22, beginning of verse 1. You shall not see your brother's ox or his sheep going astray and hide yourself from them. You shall certainly bring them back to your brother. And if your brother is not near you, or if you do not know him, then you shall bring it into your house, and it shall remain with you until your brother seeks it. Then you shall restore it to him. You shall do the same with his donkey, and so shall you do with his garment. With any lost thing of your brother's, which he has lost and you have found, you shall do likewise. You must not hide yourself. You shall not see your brother's donkey or his ox fall down along the road, and hide yourself from them. You shall surely help him lift them up again. A woman shall not wear anything that pertains to a man, nor shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all who do so are an abomination to the Lord your God. If a bird's nest happens to be before you along the way, in any tree or on the ground, with the young ones or eggs, with the mother sitting on the young or on the eggs, you shall not take the mother with the young. You shall surely let the mother go, and take the young for yourself, that it may be well with you, and you may prolong your days. When you build a new house, then you shall make a parapet for your roof, that you may not bring guilt of bloodshed on your house if anyone falls from it. You shall not sow your vineyard with different kinds of seeds, lest the yield of the seed which you have sown and the fruit of your vineyard be defiled. You shall not plow with an ox and a donkey together. You shall not wear a garment of different sorts, such as wool and linen mixed together. You shall make tassels on the four corners of the clothing with which you cover yourself. Coming to chapter 22, we leave a set of laws in the last few chapters designed to impress upon Israel the value of human life and the punishment for sin, and come to a collection of laws, many of which the principles have been discussed before, even though there will be some that have not been discussed before. The first set of laws we find concerns how a person is to treat his neighbor's animals. Sometimes animals, no matter how many fences we put up or how well we train them, will wander off. If a neighbor saw this happen, he was not to do as children say, finders keepers, losers sweepers. He was to return the animal to his neighbor. Now what if the man didn't know whose the animal was, or the house of his neighbor was too far? Well, he would then care for the animal until the neighbor came looking for it, and then it was to be returned. The same would be done for anything else that was lost by someone, whether it be clothing, tools, or other possessions. This law was an application of 2 of the 10 commandments, thou shalt not steal, and thou shalt not covet. Today we should be following the same sort of principle. When we find something that doesn't belong to us, we shouldn't simply assume that it is now ours to keep. There are lost and found departments in many stores where we can take items that people lost. If what we found has some sort of ID in it, we can track the person down who lost it. Where all possible, we should be desiring that the person who lost something has it returned to them. Sadly, our society has in many ways left this principle behind as we become more and more covetous. Let it not be so among Christians. Verse 5 tells men and women in Israel that they weren't to wear clothing that would cause them to be confused with the opposite sex. Now this verse has been used by some to teach that women should not wear pants and that men cannot wear kilts, but we have to pay close attention as to what is being said, and even then apply it in a New Testament context, since the law of Moses is not our law. Men in Israel didn't walk around in pants like most men do today. They had long robes. Likewise, women didn't walk around in skirts and dresses like some women do today. They too had long robes. But there was a difference between men's and women's robes, as well as other articles of clothing, such as headdress. In other words, you could tell the difference between a man and a woman simply by their dress. Men in Israel were thus not to try to look like a woman by wearing their clothing like a woman. Neither were women to try to look like men by wearing their clothing like men. Such was an abomination to the Lord. Why? Because God made men and he made women. He made us different in purpose, and he desires us to respect those differences. What about today? Are we still under this type of law, under the law of Christ? Well, the New Testament teaches men and women to dress modestly, and part of what it means to dress modestly is to wear appropriate attire for our gender. So men are to dress as men, and women are to dress as women. What constitutes men's and women's clothing may change by society, as now it is customary that women may wear pants just as men do. However, when you take a look at women's pants, not only are they cut differently than men's pants, their styles are different too. You can still tell the difference between a man and a woman even though a woman may wear pants. And for those men who wear kilts, they are cut differently than dresses and look differently than dresses. So as long as they are long enough, such too would be acceptable clothing. In no instance, though, should men be trying to dress like women, nor should women dress like men. Verse 8 tells Israel that when they build their houses, they were to put up parapets, or a low protective wall along the edges of the roof, so that anyone who walked upon it, for Israel's roofs were generally flat and people used them for various purposes, wouldn't fall. Remember, one was guilty of bloodshed of another, even if it happened by accident. If a person didn't take proper precautions and someone died through their carelessness, one was still responsible. In this case, it would be the homeowner. Again, God was teaching Israel about the sanctity of human life and the care that they needed to take regarding it. The laws found in verses 9 to 11 might look a little strange to us, but in reality we're teaching Israel not to mix things together that God separated in creation. These would include sowing vineyards of different seed, plowing an ox and a donkey together, or wearing different garments of different fabrics. None of these laws are found in the New Testament, so we are not bound by them today, but they were to be followed by Israel under the law of Moses. As for Israel's clothing, they were to add tassels to the four corners of the clothing, as we discussed in Numbers 15:37 to 41. This would make Israel look distinct from the nations round about them, which is why God told them that he wanted them to do this back in the book of Numbers. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Deuteronomy chapter 22, verses 13 to 22, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.